Hi, welcome to App in the Cloud and LiveCode. Today it's just me because Mats and Johan are on an important meeting with their clients, so it's me on my own today. So my plan today is not that we should not continue coding. Instead, we should focus on to setting up a build pipeline for the app that we are building, and for that we will use Azure DevOps. So I created a new account in Azure DevOps, so we will do everything from creating a new project to setting up build pipeline, and if we have time, we'll also do a release pipeline and release the app via Microsoft App Center. So here you can see the Azure DevOps portal, and we should start to create a new project, so we can name it random stuff up, and here we can select if you want the project to be public, so everyone on the internet can view the project, or if you want it to be a private. In this case, I will do it public, so you can go in and see what we have done. And we can select what version control we want to have. Of course, we want to have a Git and some also work item process. We'll not focus on work items today, but we can select Scrum, for example, if you want to work with the Scrum model. But we can still have it as a basic, and then we'll create a project. And it just take a few seconds, and then we can go here to repos and see that we don't have any code here, and the code we have created earlier is not in any source code handling. Anyway, so the first thing we need to do here is to add the code to the repository. We can have the code in any Git repository, and we can still use the Azure pipelines to build the app. But I want us to use the repos in Azure DevOps, and it's still public, so you can go and watch the code if you want. So let's start with to add the code to the repository. I will go here and navigate to the default random stuff repository. Can copy the URL. Then we will open up a terminal, because I prefer to use a terminal for Git stuff. Here. Just need to double check where I have this repository. Probably in the Visual Studio Projects default folder. Yes. So to make it easier, I will move it to my source folder, where I have all my Git repositories. You can see this right now because I'm doing it on the other screen, but just give me a minute and I will fix it. Okay, let's go back to the terminal. The retail app is the name on my folder. Can make an ls to see what we have in it. Git init to create a Git repository. So now we have an empty Git repository here, not an empty, but we have a new Git repository. And then we can go and just copy this code. Open up the terminal again and press enter. Authentication failed. Okay, we need to do this in different steps maybe. Remote already exists. Okay, let's do the git push u origin all password. Okay, To do this, we probably need to go and get a personal access token. So I create a new one. I can say it's valid for 90 days. You can just give it a name, retail token. And we give it full access to Azure Studio DevOps. It's easier that way, and we'll copy it and go back to the terminal. Okay, let's try again. Perhaps you should specify branch. Okay, get branch. Push. We need to push the master branch as well. Source. Okay, that's strange. Git status. Maybe need to do a commit first. Git add commit. And now we can push the master branch. Okay, now we'll soon have the code in Azure DevOps. Just wait a few seconds to make it complete. Okay, let's go back to the browser and go back to the project, and then we can go to the repos file tab and see now we have the code in here. So let's create a new pipeline, a new build pipeline. But before we do that, when we will build the app, we will need the certificate and the publishing profile for the iOS build, and we also need the key store for the Android. And the way to add that one is to add it to the library and then use what they call secure files. And when we have uploaded them here, we can use them in our builds, and they will be stored in a secure way. Looks like we need to upload each file separately. Like this. Okay. Now we have all 3 files that we need, so we go back to builds here, and we'll create a new pipeline. Okay, there are different ways to do this. We can use the new YAML way and define the build in YAML. I think that's a little bit complicated. It's easier to start with a classic editor where we have a UI to do it. So we will start with a UI, and we maybe can convert it to YAML later. So use the classic editor here, and we can select what repository you want to use. You can see you can use GitHub, you can have Subversion, Bitbucket, other Git repositories. But this case we will use Azure repos Git, and we can see our repository and the branches here. And click continue, and we will start with an empty job without using any template. So the first thing we need to do here is, of course, to give it a name, and we also need to specify what agent pool we want to run it on. So we want to run it on in Azure Pipelines. That means we're using build agents that is created by Microsoft. And here we can select what operating system we want it to run on. So for example, if we want the build to run on a Mac that is necessary for the iOS build, we just use a Mac. And here we can have different agent phases in the build. So we can have one phase, for example, that running on Mac OS, and we can have one running on a Windows OS. For example, if you want to build the Android app with a Windows machine, we can do that. But let's start with our first job here and add some tasks to it. So the first thing we need to do is to do a NuGet restore and restore the NuGet packages that we have in our solution. So we use this NuGet task, add it to it, and then we'll do some configuration. Here you can select different commands, and in this case we want to use restore, and we want to restore all the packages in the solution. Here you can also configure if you want to have our custom feeds. For example, if we have own private feeds, we can use them as well. We also need to add a task, a NuGet installer task, and make sure that we have a newer version of the NuGet tools. I'm not sure what the latest are, but if we use 4.5 at least, that will work. 4.5, and then we will add a task for installing the certificate on the machine, certificate that we uploaded to the library. So we will search for that task, install Apple certificate, and we can also install Apple provisioning profile when we are here, and we will of course have them after the NuGet task. And now we can just select the certificate here, and also we need to enter the password, and the best way to do that is to add a variable, add certificate password, and then we can enter the text. My very complicated password, but here we can make it secret, so it will not be visible to others. And then we can use the variable like this. And the same for the provisioning profile. We will go here and just select the provisional profile that we uploaded to the library. And in this case, this is an ad hoc profile, so we can use it, for example, if you want to upload it to the App Center and distribute it that way. Okay, now when we have installed them, and we have also tell the build that they should remove the profile after the build. It's probably not necessary on a hosted agent, because every time you get an agent from Azure DevOps, it's a new machine that they are created from an image, but we can have it there anyway. Okay, now we will search for the Xamarin build task, Xamarin iOS build task, and then we'll add it. By default, we'll try to build the solution, but I prefer to build just the iOS project. So we will select the iOS project file here instead. And here we can tell what configuration that the build should use. We can, if you should clean before build, if you want us to create an app package, if you want it to build for iOS Simulator. If we build it for iOS Simulator, we don't need to install any Apple certificate or Apple provisioning profile. If, for example, we can use that for faster builds if we want to build the app in a pull request scenario, for example, that we build a package that not should be distributed. The signing and provisional part, we don't have to care about that anymore, because we installed the certificate and provisioning profile in an earlier step. So the next thing we need to do is that we should export the IPA file to what they call an artifact, so we can use the artifact later in the release step. So first we will go here and search for the copy files task. So we can copy the IPA file to a staging folder that we can use later. So we can make it search for just the IPA file. We don't want it to copy all the folders to the artifact folder, and we can also set flattened folders here, so we don't need the folder structure from the source folder. And we can go here and we can select the bin folder, bin like this, and then it will search for an IPA file in that folder. And the last step is that we should publish the artifact. publish build artifacts. And we'll publish it from artifact station directory, the folder that we specify here. And we will call the artifact name iOS app package. And we can also select the location, but we want to have it in Azure DevOps, not in a file share. Okay, so now we can save this build, and we can have it in a specific folder if we want to group builds, for example, but in this case we have it in the root folder. And now we can just go here and queue it. When we're waiting for that build to complete, we can continue to work with the build pipeline a little bit more. So we go here, we select it, and we press edit. If we want to use, for example, the YAML builds, we can go here and see the YAML for each task. So we can learn how to define the YAML by using this classical editor. So for example, if you're not familiar with YAML that much, or what tasks you can use, you can have them side by side. You can have the YAML file and just copy this YAML into the bigger YAML file for your YAML build. And the advantage with having YAML builds is that you can have version control of them, and you can, for example, have a pull request flow from them. So if someone want to add changes to the build definition, then you can have it through the same process as code changes with the code review and things like that. Okay, now we can add a new agent job for Android if we want that one to run on a Windows machine, and we can also run this in parallel if we have more than one parallel build agent available. The free version of the Azure DevOps only have one concurrent build, so it will build one phase and continue with the next one. But if you pay for more parallel builds, you can have them running in the same time. So we will run this on a Windows 2019 machine. This means that the machine will have Visual Studio 2019 installed. Then we can do the same here. We need to go find the NuGet task. The fastest way is to search for it, NuGet tool installer. Install 4.5. And we need to restore the NuGet packages for the solution. And then now we can add this Xamarin .android build task instead, like this, boom. And we go and find the project and select it. We can say that we want to have it a release build. No, that not there. We'll add it in the configuration field, of course, like this. Here we can specify JDK version if you want to have a specific one. Yes. And when we have built it, we need to zip align and assign this. So we can have the Android signing task. And then we need to specify what key store to use, key store password. And then we'll go back here to variables and also add a variable for key store password. And have my very complicated password even here. Copy this text and go back to the tasks. And specify it here. And the key password will be the same. And also add an alias. In this case, it's random stuff. Like this. And we also want to tell the task to zip align it. It's on by default, but you can turn it off, or you can have specify the zip align location. You probably don't need to do that if you're using the hosted agent, but if you have your own agent, you can use that if you want to. Okay, let's add the copy files task even here. Copy files. But now instead we will search for an APK file in the Android folder. APK. And we're still using the build artifact station directory. Like this. And then we will add the last artifact task. Publish build artifacts. Like this. Drop, we can call it Android app package. Okay, then we're done. Save. Let's go back and see if we have got any result from our other build. It looked like it failed, so we open up the log and see why it failed. Could be a little bit hard to find it in these logs, but okay, no valid iOS code signing keys found in keychain. So probably the certificate I uploaded was not the correct one. Or it could be also be the publishing profile that don't have the correct bundle ID. You need to request a code signing certificate. Okay, just need to check that was succeeded. That task, it looks like that. Strange. When we're thinking about what can be wrong, we can also queue a new build to see if the Android part works better. Okay, so let's go to the build and edit again and see if something is wrong with the signing parts here. Certificate password, looks like that is correct. Secure, we have a mobile provisioning profile. We maybe need to go here to Visual Studio and verify our configuration for the signing parts. So I will open up Visual Studio and the retail app solution, random stuff. Here. So you go to the iOS project, options, iOS bundle signing, make sure that we have a release, and the platform is iPhone. Here we can select a signing identity, distribution, Daniel Hindrikes, and here we can see that we don't have any matching publishing profiles. It's probably just on my local device here. So let's go here and go to this folder and install it even on my local machine, the publishing profile. Probably need to close that one and maybe open it up again. So Visual Studio can detect the changes here. Switch to automatic again, distribution automatic. It should be this one random. But we need to have that one, of course. Distribution automatic random. Okay, let's try again. Let's see if we have any changes here. Git status. Yeah, a lot of them. Git add. Strict A. Git. Strange that we have all those Android files in here as well. We maybe need to work with our git ignore file later, or just maybe verify that we have one. Probably we don't have one. Could be the reason why we have all those changes. So we will go and get one from one of my other projects. Yeah. So we don't have to push all those changes to our repository in Azure DevOps. So now you can see that I have added a new gitignore file here to the project. You can go back here. Run a git status. Let's do like this. We reset everything here and start over again. Git. And we can see now we only have changes in the gitignore file, so we need to change the bundle signing here again. Release iPhone. Distribution Daniel Hindrikes, provisioning profile random. Okay, git status. And then now we can add all the files. Git commit, give it a message, signing, and git push and push it to Azure DevOps. So now we can build it here again. Queue a new build. Okay, let's go here and take a look at what trigger options we can have for a builder trigger. We can here, for example, enable continuous integration, and that means that a new build will trigger every time we're pushing to a specific branch. We can add multiple here, for example. The normal flow here is that we don't allow people to push directly to the development branch or the master branch. Instead, we're using a pull request flow. To do that, we'll go to branches here and we can add branch policies to it, like this. For example, we can add a require minimum number of reviewers. We can have 1, for example. We can allow users to approve their own changes. We can check for linked work items. For example, you need to specify work items and add that to the pull request. If you got any comments, you need to resolve them before you can merge it to the branch. You can specify what merge types we want to have. I used to have squash merge because then we only got one commit in the branch, that is the pull request. But we can also add build validation here. So for example, we can select our build and build pipeline, and that build needs to success before we can merge the code to the master branch in this case. So we will add that. Okay, let's go back to the pipelines and see stay. We also need to save the changes, of course. Let's go back here and see what happened with our builds. You can see here that also the Android job failed of some reason. Let's take a look on the error message for that one. Okay, some strange Git message. Sometimes it could work better if we just restart the build, because you can see here that the checkout task work on the iOS part. So probably there are some things internally on the build. Signing. Okay, we have this build to fail either anyway. Okay. Build failed. Not any good messages here, so I think we'll go back and we will queue a new build and see if that will work better. When we're waiting for that one, we can go to App Center, for example, and create new apps there, so we can use them to distribute it to the users. So we can create a new app here, for example, an iOS app, random stuff, and set up the platform is Xamarin, and we add the new app. We can go here to my account settings, and we can get a API token, so we can use it from Azure DevOps. Full access, add new API token, boom, copy that one. The reason that I had to create a new one here is that you can only see the token once. So let's go back here, and we go to project settings, and we will find services. We probably need to do that on a higher level, so we go back here to organization settings. See if we can find integrations here somewhere to so we can add the integration to the App Center, of course. Easiest way is maybe to go this route. Create a new release pipeline for an empty job. We will add not a new stage, we will add a new task to it. Find the App Center task, App Center distribute, and then we can go here, and here we can create a new connection to it. Connection name, App Center, random stuff, and we can add the API token here. Okay. So now we have created connection. Now we need to specify what app we want to distribute. So let's go back to App Center and take the apps flag. We can see in the information dialog here that we find that in the URL for the app. So we go back here, trying to find the app, random stuff. So my organization is named Daniel KV9P. Copy that one. We're going back here to Azure DevOps. And let's back to App Center again and take the rest part of it and the random stuff like this. So this is the way that you specify what app it should be uploaded to in App Center. So then we also can add release notes here, for example, the latest code, but we can also specify a release note file in the repository, for example. We can specify groups for distribution. If we're not specifying anyone, it will be in the default group. We also need to specify a binary file, of course, but we can't do that yet because we have not succeeded with any builds, so we're just adding a star there so we can save it, because if we have errors in our task, we cannot save it. So we can go back here and take a look at the pipeline. We should have started here, but I wanted to create the App Center connection. So if we go here, we can add an artifact, and we have the build pipeline as a source here. Add. And here we can add different triggers. For example, we can add continuous deployment trigger. So every time changes are pushed to our branch, to our repository, it will create a new release or a new deployment. But we want to add a filter to that one, because we don't want it to deploy every time someone is creating a new branch and a new pull request. So we will set it will only be the deployment created on pushes to the master branch. Okay, like this. So we save it, and we'll go back to the build pipeline. See if it works better. Doesn't look like that. Agent job, then APK, still some struggling with the checkout here. Okay, let's go back, see if we have any changes. Builds. Agent 1. Dun, dun. We can also set here that it should always run agent job here. For example, if iOS failed, we want to run Android. If Android failed, we want to run iOS. So even if a previous job has failed, we will run that one, and we will set the same here. So let's take a look here. Why, if we have some configuration here that makes it possible, we can try to run this on other Windows machine, for example. Save and queue. While we're waiting for this job, we can go back to the release pipeline and see how we can specify different stages. Okay. It's not the button for to create a new release pipeline. We forgot to change the name on it, so the pipeline name is new release pipeline. Random stuff release. And here in stages, we can have different stages. For example, we can have one stages for that deploy the app to the team via App Center, for example, and we can have one that deploys to beta testers. We can have one that deploys to production. So we can add a new stage here, for example, an empty stage, and we can specify some conditions of it. So after stage, we can say that this will run after stage 1. We can name it stage 1 to App Center to make it more clear. And stage 2 can be, for example, App Store. Then we can go here and we can add the App Store task if it's installed. I don't think it's installed by default, but this is a new account I created just for this demo. We have not installed the Apple App Store activity, Apple App Store task. So we can do it now. It's free. So get it for free. This was a little bit slow, but we need to wait. And we can select what organization we want to add it for. In this case, Hindrikes demo, and install. And we can go to Marketplace, and we can also search for the Google Play task when we are here. Google Play. And you should use this Google Play task from Microsoft. There are probably more of them, but I prefer the one from Microsoft. Also get that one for free. As you can see here, the task is also open source, and you can find the source code on GitHub. And we install this one too. And we can proceed to organization, but we can close this tab because we already have it here. I don't know, we maybe need to refresh this list. Yes, we have, so we will save our build pipeline. And go open it up again. And now we can add our App Store task. I thought strange. Here we have Apple App Store promote. So if we, for example, have uploaded an app to beta, we can just use this task to promote the production. So we can take a look at what options we have on that one. So of course we need to create a service connection. We'll don't do that now because I don't have the information for it, and we need to specify the bundle ID, and we can select what build that we already have uploaded to App Store that we want to promote production, and we can say that we will release it automatically when Apple have approved it. So let's take a look on the other task, App Store release. Of course, we need to specify the service connection here, the bundle ID, the application type, iOS, tvOS, and macOS is supported. We need to specify a binary, and we need to specify a track. So if you want to upload it to test flight, so the user can test this before we release the production, we can select test flight here. Otherwise, we can use productions. We can add some text what the user should test, and that is the path to file. So we need to have a file in the repository or somewhere that we can use for that one. We can have multiple artifacts for a build, for example. So we can add, we can have release those files in other repositories in other places. We can take a look on that soon. Skip build processing wait. If we enable this checkbox, it will not wait for the app processing to finish before it will continue the build. If we don't do that, we will wait about 20 to 30 minutes before a build completes. And in most cases, we don't want to do that because we maybe want to use our build agents for other jobs, for example. And skip submission, if you don't want to submit it to Apple, we can check this checkbox. In many cases, I prefer to just use this task to upload the binary to Apple App Store Connect, and then I will go to the portal, and then I will release it, and I'll specify how the deployment process should be, specify release notes, maybe version numbers, and things like that. So I prefer to use Azure DevOps just for publishing the binary to App Store Connect. So we can go back here to the pipeline and see. I will show you how to add other artifact types, and we can also have build. We can add a file in a repository for GitHub, and we can also have from other providers, Docker Hub, Azure Container, GitHub Release, Jenkins. Yeah. And before a deployment can be done, we can also specify some approvals. For example, a pre-deployment approval. So before this stage can be started, someone needs to approve it. So if, for example, if I want Johan to approve this, I can specify that he is not added on this project, so I will add myself. So when the release has been created, I will get an email that there are things to approve. And after I have approved it, it will continue with the deployment. And we can also have different policies here, how we want that to work. If we have one or more, we can have that they need to approve it in a specific order and things like that. And we can also add post-deployment approvals. So, for example, if we have a release here to App Center, for example, then we have a chance to install the app, run it, test it, and then we can approve it. And it's okay to go to the next stage. So we can do that in form of a post-deployment approval on this stage, or we can, of course, add a pre-deployment approval on this stage also. Okay, let's go back to the builds and see if it works better this time. No, sign in. Okay, so now we can see that the Apple one succeeded, but not the Android. Okay, we'll take a look at that later. So we can see here now we have build artifacts published. So here, if we open up it and view the contents, we can see that we have an IPA file here, and that IPA file is possible for us to use in the release part. So we can go here and find the binary here in that folder. And then we can save it, and then we can try to run it. We can add the approval here again, so you can see how that works. So, and create a new release. And we will say it will only be on to the app center stage right now. Okay, we don't have any succeeded builds. That's probably why we have that one. So, okay, let's go back here. And can try to run this on a Mac instead. Or we can do like this. We can disable this part first. If it's possible to just disable the whole agent job or not. It was not possible. Okay, so let's try to run this on the Mac agent. Can also try to do some changes here to the project and push a new commit to it to see how the pull request flow works, and hopefully we'll fix the Git issue in the build also. So what we can do is we can update to the latest Xamarin Forms version and just commit that. So we'll open the terminal, create a new branch. Git checkout and the branch name, new Xamarin Forms version. Git add all changes and commit them. Latest Xamarin Forms version. Git push. We need to add that branch. Okay, now we can go back to Azure DevOps and we can create a pull request. Go to repos, pull request, create pull request. And we want to merge this new branch into the master branch. In this case, here we can add reviewers, we can add work items, we can see what files that have been changed. Okay, that's great. And now we have a new pull request that I can approve here, but we cannot merge it yet because we have need to wait for the build result. But I can set autocomplete here. So when the build has finished and succeeded, it will automatically merge the changes into the master branch. Okay, let's go back to see how things works in the build pipeline. We have this running. Here you can see the pull request build also. And it's right now working with the iOS job and also with the Android part. And we can see now it worked better with the Mac agent of some reason. Just we need to go here and check why. This fails right now. Package for Android targets. Okay. What happened? Agent job build. I'm not sure if this task is compatible with the Mac agent. Before there was problem running this on Mac agent. Error duplicate class mono package or resource blah 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 blah. Okay, a really strange error. So let's see if you can try to run it on a Windows agent again. Now when we after that we have the pull request merged into it, and because we have added enable continuous integration after the merge has completed, it will try to build it again. So we can see how it works here. Probably this will fail here too, so we can go and remove that policy so we can get the code into the branch a little bit faster. Branch policies. We will disable the build validation policy, and we can go back to the pull request. Maybe, and we can complete it like this. Shoop. And now it's merged, and probably it will kick off a new build soon. Here you can see merged pull request 1 latest Xamarin Forms version. So now we have a new continuous integration build that also will trigger a release if the build will succeed. Can go into this and follow the logs, see if it will work better. And here we can see what is doing right now. We can see that this one failed directly, so we have some Git trouble running this on a Windows agent. That's really strange. Let's try to run it on a Mac agent again. Save and queue. And here we can see this is the CI build, and here's my manual build. So we can go to the manual build and see what's happening here. It's waiting for an agent. If you cancel this build, it will probably get an agent faster. Okay, now we can see that both agent phases are running. It's doing the new git restore. Checkout works great on a Mac machine. So we just need to wait a few minutes to see if this succeeds. While we're waiting for that one, we can go to App Center and see how we can work with distribution groups. So I can create different groups. We have one by default with all collaborators on the projects added. But in many cases, we want to create a new group and add our testers to them. So we just name the group testers. And we can also set public access. If we have public access to a distribution group, we can just distribute a link to it. We don't need to add testers and invite testers to the group. So we can do that, but we can also add testers here if we want specific people to get an invite from App Center. But we can create the group like this here now, and we can see the public page is this URL. we have no testers here yet, we have no releases, and we have no registered devices, because for iOS you need to register your device, and if you first time you will go to App Center, you will get a question if you want to register your device. So it's important that the user is using their iPhone, for example, in this case, to get to App Center so they can register it, and so you can add it to your publishing profile. If you're using App Center builds, you can just click a button and add a connection to Apple Developer Portal, and it will add the UDID for the devices automatically to that publishing profile. But if you're using Azure DevOps, you need to do it manually, and you need to update the provisioning profile after you have added it in the portal that way. But I prefer to use Azure DevOps for builds anyway, because I think it's more flexible. You can use pull requests, flow more integrated, and things like that. The easy ways to say is just more. It's just more flexible and more easy to do custom configurations. We still have some issues here with the Android build. Time is soon up, so I will check that one to the next week what's wrong, and then I will tell you then how to fix the Android build. Thank you very much for taking your time to watch this stream, and of course it will be recorded and published to my YouTube channel as well, and next week we are hopefully back. Johan and Mats, and will continue to code on the app as well. But if you have feedback, you're very welcome to contact me. And if you have other questions or suggestions on what you want us to talk about in this live stream, you're very welcome to send me an email. Thank you very much. See you next week.